Hi, welcome to Studio X. Today you will be learning how to create spinning and replicating 3D models similar to what you might have seen on Instagram. For this you will need Cinema 4D and After Effects to do the post-processing work. Let's get right into it. To get started, I have 3 items already in the scene. This skull, a bullet, and a coin. The first thing I will want to do is put the skull in the middle. And to start replicating, you can go up to MoGraph, Cloner, and take your skull object and drop it into the cloner. I'm gonna hide the other elements for now, just so we can work with the skull first. And I want to make it smaller, so I'm just gonna type in 0.5, 0.5, 0.5 in the coordinates. And under object, instead of linear, you want to choose radial. So you can see now you are getting your skull replicated. And that looks good. If you need to flip it, you can see in the plane, you can be rotating it around any of the axes, but I think this is good. And I'm just going to put it right here. Okay, let me put in my camera, zero out the rotations, and drop it down on the y-axis, and the focal length, I'm going to make it 50. I'm just going to zoom in. There we go. Let me just make sure the settings are 1920 by 1080. Perfect. That's looking good. Now we want to rotate the objects, and I'm going to make this scene about 240 frames. Great. So you can go into your transform, and you can see you can rotate the actual skull, and they're touching here. So I think what I'm going to do is, let me see if there's any other axis we want to be rotating. Yeah, maybe we'll do it this way. So let me just separate it. Perfect. And what I'm going to do is keyframe the radius, and then also keyframe the rotation right here. And I'm going to move forward to 240 frames. Let's rotate this through. This much is good. And let's also extend it out to 24. So if you're gonna play it, you're gonna see that it's rotating. But there's a weird thing. It starts off slow. So you're going to click on the keyframe and choose linear for interpolation, and do the same thing for the last keyframe. Hit linear. And now you can see that the action is just happening right away. That's looking pretty good. I also want to animate my camera at the same time as well. So I think I'll zoom in pretty close. Maybe right here is good. I'm going to go to coordinates right here. Keyframe the Z position. Go to 240 frames, and I think probably around here is where it's going to be done. So -100, and I'm going to keyframe that and do the same thing as before, where you click on the keyframe, go into interpolation, click linear, and same thing for the other one as well. So now you can see we've got some animated motion right here on the skulls. Let's also rotate the actual cloner as well. So it would be on the Z-axis. So let's keyframe that go all the way to the end. 72 looks pretty good. And I'm going to make sure all of the keyframes are linear. Perfect. That is looking really nice. And then I will want to do a similar thing to, this is the coin. I'm going to do it to the bullet. So I've got this bullet here, except there's a small problem with it. It is not completely aligned. And if your object is not fully aligned to the middle or the center, the rotation will look really wonky. So I think right here, and maybe raise it up a little bit. Yes, perfect. So you can choose the center point by clicking on this. Let's go ahead and make another cloner. Put the bullet in there. Do the same thing, choose radial. I'm going to put more instances in there and decrease the radius. And I want to bring it closer to the skulls here. Perfect. And the first one that I'm going to animate is the actual rotation of the cloner. So I'm gonna keyframe this, go to 240, and I'm gonna put in 360, keyframe that, just so it spins pretty fast. We're gonna watch it real quick, make sure it's not spinning too fast. That's spinning way too fast, I think. So we can just change the value from 360 to 180, and let's take a look. I think that's still a little too fast, so let's just do 120. That's way nicer. Okay, perfect. Now I'm gonna go back to the cloner, go into transform, and we will be rotating this. So I'm gonna keyframe this, maybe put 180, keyframe it, make sure it's linear again. Great. Now the next thing I want to do is I want to take the cloner for the skull object, duplicate it. I'm going to bring it forward. I'm going to increase the radius. 29, and then we'll put here also 29. So we can just go to animation and delete this keyframe. So it basically stays at 29. And the reason I want to do this is because I want to add another element, maybe two more. And I'm going to go into this animation, delete the track completely, because I want to animate this one in a slightly different way. So let's see what else we can do. Maybe not this way. Maybe not this way. Maybe we'll do rotating in a similar fashion. just a lot slower. So we're gonna do 0 here, go to the end, and we'll do 90. So actually not 0. I don't think 0 looks too good. I think we should do -93, and then we'll do 4. Once again, make it linear. And I want to animate the rotation faster. So instead of 72, let's triple it. Perfect. Now I'm just going to duplicate the cloner with bullets, bring it even closer, for this one I think you can just add many more, a lot more. Great. And I think in the middle I will add the coin. So I'm just going to make sure that it is nice and centered. Yes, perfect. So I'm just going to put 0, bring it all the way to the back where the skulls are. Maybe a little bit more forward. I think here's good. I'm going to rotate it. Actually, what I'm going to do is I'm going to group this, so just like this. And the reason I want to do this is so I can keyframe it. And at the end, bring it out closer to the camera, somewhere around here. Once again, make sure that it's linear and linear, and the actual subdivision, that's where I'm going to be rotating it. So you can start off at like 20 or so, keyframe this, bring it to the end, and we can make it maybe 400, 450. Perfect, 450 looks good. And once again, linear, and whoops, this keyframe just took a little slide there. Okay, perfect. So now we've got this flying coin. I think you want to maybe rotate it on another axis as well, so it's spinning differently. I think I'll keyframe this. Actually, the end is going to be 0 degrees, and the beginning, we can make it something like 62. Once again, just make sure everything is linear. Yeah, maybe I don't like this spinning, so I think we're just gonna delete this track. Or just the animation. Gonna keep it at 0. Okay, and I think I want to bring the coin a lot closer so when it flies by, it goes really close to the camera. Yes, that is perfect. Oh, the rotation looks like it's not linear. Okay. I just think the coin is a little too big, so we're just gonna scale that down to maybe 0.5, 0.5, 0.5. Perfect, and I think I'll just add another row of skulls. So I could just take the skulls, duplicate it. Bring it more forward. And I'm going to make these spin in the opposite direction. So 0, and we're going to make this negative 216. Okay, let's have the coin just fly a little bit closer. And I'll start from farther away. I'll start from behind the skulls. Great. That's what I'm talking about. That looks really nice. Perfect. So the next step is to light everything. So I'm going to make a new material and only turn on the luminance channel. And let's go into Google and type in Studio HDRI. You could take something like this, or yeah, something like this could work. So save image as, just save it, open up Cinema 4D, choose that file right here, open, great, make a new sky, throw that in, right click on the sky, Cinema 4D tags compositing, turn off seen by camera so you can't see it. Then let's go into our render, turn on ambient occlusion, global illumination, primary method, QMC. Let's do light mapping. Great. And let me see, maybe we'll change the resolution to be 1080 by 1080. Now let's keep it 1920. Okay, great. Okay, now we're just gonna do some quick materials. So let me check out. So this is from my own material pack. And I think I have some more coming up. Maybe let's try to get this corrupted here. Okay, so let's try throwing this gold onto these skulls and seeing what that looks like. Save, and let's just do a preview region. That's looking pretty good, but I think I'll change the material. Let's try this normal gold instead. Let's see if you like it better. It renders a lot faster, and I'm liking the way that the reflections look. I think the only thing that I want to add is some more light emitting from the side. So what I'm going to do is make a new plane, make it smaller, okay, I think something like this. I'm going to rotate it 90 degrees. Bring it just a tiny bit closer. In the material, turn on the luminance and turn everything else off. Throw it on the plane. Right click, Cinema 4D, compositing, seen by camera turned off, and I'm just going to duplicate it and copy it over to the other side. Perfect. That should light it up much nicer. So for the bullets, let's check out the colors. So okay, and then this is okay. So I'm gonna take the corrupt, which is just basically rusted metal looking, and put it on the brass, and then we'll just copy over the gold and put it on the copper. And there we go, you'll see an update on that. Let's go ahead and copy the gold over to the plain material too, so it goes over to all of our skulls. Great, and then let's add a reflectance to the coin here. I'm just gonna copy this, paste the color, okay. Let's take a look at this strip right here. So I'm not really liking the look of the coin. I think I might just change the texture to be gold or corrupted. Let's take a look. So I'm actually thinking, why not make it shiny silver? Looks like this shiny silver is the way to go. That is looking very nice and clean. Now let's go ahead and set up our render settings. First thing I'm going to do is I want to make sure I can export a depth of field. So I'm just going to select my camera, bring in the focus. So when it's at the very end here, I still want some elements in the back. And under details, enable front blur, and just make sure to bring it to the front of the camera. Then in multipass, you're going to add depth, enable multipass. Under save, I'm going to uncheck regular image, and I'm going to go with OpenEXR. Let's find our location. I'm going to type in replicator render. Perfect, and I'm going to save it as rotate. Yes, I'm just going to call it rotate. Perfect. Output all frames, and I'm probably going to turn on physical. Make this 2, 3. I'll keep that at 2 also. 10% shading error. 1 for subsurface scattering. And that should look good. And just so it renders faster, I'm going to change it to 1280, oh, I mean 720. So 1280 by 720, 240 frames. Everything's looking good. I just don't want to forget to turn on alpha channel because we want that. And other than that, we are good to go. So I'm going to render this out and I will see you in After Effects. Now that the render is done, you have to open up After Effects and import the EXR image sequence. So go to the folder where you saved it. And click on the first one and make sure Open EXR Sequence is checked and hit open. And you can see it imports the sequence right away. Take the image sequence and bring it over to New Composition. So it's looking pretty good. And as you can see, the background is empty. So let's go ahead and right click, go to New, Solid. I'm gonna make it white for now. And go in your Effects and Presets tab, and if you can't find it, just go up to Window and make sure it's checked. And type in Ramp. Take the gradient ramp, drop it in, and change the ramp shape to be radial. And you can select this point right here, bring it down. I'm gonna type in 540. And I'm gonna bring out the other one right here and check swap colors. And I'm gonna just make this white color a nice dark gray, around 9%, looks good. Hit OK. And as you can see now, there's banding, color banding that you can see. And this is because we're on 8-bit color. So if you click on this, you can actually change it to be 16. Which makes it a little bit better, or you can make it 32. So you can just change it back to 8-bit and then, or 16-bit, sorry. And if you type in grain, you can actually add in grain to help match the colors together. So I'm just going to type in 0.2 for intensity. You can probably do even 0.1. And you can see that the banding is gone. So instead of preview, I'm just going to click Final Output. And you can see we've got a nice gradient. Perfect. So I'm going to take the solid, bring it down, and rename it to background. That's looking good. The next step is let's add some depth of field. So if you remember, the in multipass option, we selected depth. So if you just duplicate the rotate, you can pre-compose it. And I'm going to call it depth. Just double click on the comp to open it. Go into Effect, 3D Channel, Extractor. You're gonna see red, green, blue, and alpha. If you just click on that, you'll be able to pull up and choose depth alpha for all of the colors. Just hit OK. And you can see it converts it to black and white, and you can actually see some depth. So black is far away, white is really close, and you'll see why we need it in 1 second. So if you turn off the depth comp and right click and make a new adjustment layer, I'm just gonna rename it to DOF by hitting enter. And I'm just gonna bring it under the depth. And there's this really great plugin called First Left Depth of Field. If you're gonna be doing a lot of compositing or a lot of 3D stuff from Cinema 4D or anywhere else, I would definitely suggest checking it out. So take it and drag it over. Once you dropped the plugin in, you can see some options. So you're gonna open up Iris and just type in 9. And let's go to all the way to the end, right here. And let's change the radius to be about 20. And you'll start seeing everything is gonna start to get blurry. And then you can use the select depth option to click and pinpoint what should be in focus. So let's keyframe the focal point. Oh, we didn't choose a depth layer. So for the depth layer, you need to choose depth. And now when you click on the focal point, you can see that now this is in focus, but if you move it over to the skulls, now the skulls are in focus. So this is just a nice way to be able to select by hand what objects you want to be in focus. So just click focal point right here to select the keyframe. Go about halfway into your video. Click here again. And let's go to the beginning. And let's just choose the skulls. Perfect. So that's looking good. Let's go ahead and right click new solid, make it black. And double click on the ellipse tool to make a mask. Choose subtract. I'm going to change the quality to quarter just so it updates faster. And you can feather it a lot more. And I'm going to change the opacity to be about 30. So you can see we got a nice little vignette going on. Now let's pre-compose everything. Call it main. Don't forget to save. And we are good to go. So you can go ahead and render out this video and you're basically done. Thank you so much for watching this video. Hopefully you learned something new. Don't forget to subscribe to this channel to see more upcoming videos, as well as comment down below for what kind of tutorials you would like to see next. If you like this video, please leave a like, and I'll see you in the next one.